The Feathered Bride. In the land of feathers, every woman wears her fate on her head. The feathers in her crown tell the world who she is, a bride, a widow, or a woman of freedom. My name is Safina, and I was the feathered bride. This is the story of how I found the courage to choose my own destiny. In my village, marriage was not about love. It was about wealth, power, and the weight of tradition. My parents were proud to have secured Tekele as my husband. He was the richest man in the village, with herds of cattle that stretched across the plains. My wedding crown was made of the rarest golden feathers, each plucked from birds that dared to fly too close to the sun. It shimmered in the light, a symbol of the life I was expected to live. But the crown was heavy, not because of its beauty, but because of what it meant. I wore the crown for my parents, for the village, for the expectations placed on my shoulders. But my heart? It belonged elsewhere. It belonged to Asmani, a humble flute maker whose music carried the dreams I couldn't speak aloud. By the riverbank, where no one could see us, I listened to the melodies he played. They weren't just songs. They were promises of freedom, of a life unburdened by tradition. Asmani had no cattle, no wealth, and no power. But in his eyes, I saw love. On the night before my wedding, the village erupted in chaos. Tekele's prized bull, the finest in his herd, vanished without a trace. The bull was more than an animal. It was a symbol of his power, his pride, and his wealth. His rage thundered through the village, and his accusations soon found their mark: Asmani. Tekele stormed into the square, his voice booming as he called Asmani a thief. The villagers, loyal to Tekele's wealth, murmured in agreement. I watched from the shadows, my heart pounding. Asmani stood silent, his flute hanging at his side, his eyes meeting mine with quiet resignation. He didn't defend himself. He didn't have to. I knew the truth, and I knew I had to act. That night, I followed the trail of the bull. The footprints led me beyond the village, past the grazing fields, and into the sacred grove, a place forbidden to all but the spirits. The air was thick with silence, and the trees loomed like ancient guardians. It was there, deep within the grove, that I found the truth. A hidden shrine lay before me, its surface carved with symbols of bulls, feathers, and blood. The air seemed to hum with an unseen power, and as I stepped closer, the truth revealed itself. Tekele's family had been performing forbidden rituals for generations, sacrificing bulls to the spirits in exchange for their wealth and status. The bull hadn't been stolen. It had been taken as an offering. I turned to leave, but the snap of a branch froze me in place. From the shadows emerged Tekele, his face twisted with fury. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "I know your secret," I said, my voice steady despite the fear gripping my heart. "The bull wasn't stolen. It was sacrificed. Your wealth, your power, it's all built on blood." His laughter was cold and sharp. "You know nothing of power, Safina. This is our way. The spirits demand sacrifice, and I will not let you ruin what my family has built." Before he could act, another figure stepped into the clearing. Asmani. He had followed me into the grove, his flute in hand, his face calm but determined. "You will not harm her," he said softly, his words cutting through the tension like a blade. Tekele sneered. "And what will you do, flute maker? Play me a song?" But Asmani did just that. He lifted the flute to his lips and began to play. The melody was haunting, filled with sorrow and defiance. The grove seemed to come alive with the music, the trees swaying as though listening. The shrine trembled, and from its depths a shadow rose, a dark, monstrous figure with glowing eyes, born from the sacrifices of generations. Tekele stepped back, his arrogance crumbling into fear. The shadow loomed over him, its voice a low, rumbling growl that seemed to shake the earth. "You have taken too much," it said. "The debt is paid." Asmani's music grew louder, and the shadow began to fade, its power dissolving with each note. The grove fell silent once more, the air light and still. Tekele, broken and humiliated, stumbled away into the night. I turned to Asmani, tears in my eyes. "You saved me," I whispered. He shook his head. "We saved each other." In that moment, I made my choice. I removed the crown from my head and placed it on the ground, leaving behind the weight of tradition and expectations. Hand in hand, Asmani and I walked out of the grove, the rising sun lighting our path. The village would whisper about us for years, calling us fools for abandoning wealth and power. But I had found something greater: freedom. In the land of feathers, every woman wears her fate on her head. But I chose to wear mine in my heart, and that made all the difference.